They don't deserve these presents. My sister-in-law Amanda spat, yanking the neatly wrapped gifts right out of my children's hands. My kids come from a better background. These should be theirs. I stood motionless in my mother-in-law's grand living room, horror gripping me as I watched my 8-year-old twins, Emily and James, clutch onto each other, tears welling in their eyes. The birthday celebration I had spent weeks preparing was unraveling before me. My name is Olivia, and never in my worst nightmares did I imagine my own children being cast out of their birthday party, but Amanda, who had married my husband's younger brother 2 years ago, had made sure of it. "Mom?" Emily's voice wavered. "Why is Aunt Amanda taking our presents?" Before I could comfort her, Amanda's sharp voice sliced through the room. "Because your cousins, Sophia and Alexander, actually deserve luxury. Look at them, they're in Gucci. And you?" she scoffed, eyeing my children's birthday outfits, the ones I had carefully saved up for Target. A hush fell over the gathering. Other parents exchanged uneasy glances, clearly wanting to shield their own children from the growing tension. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, Margaret, sat comfortably in her usual armchair, lips pressed together but saying nothing. She had always favored her younger son and his wife, but this was a new level of cruelty. I drew in a deep breath, willing my voice to remain steady. "Amanda, those gifts were given to Emily and James. This is their party." She let out a humorless laugh, her eyes gleaming with condescension. "Oh, Olivia, let's be real. You're barely making ends meet in that tiny apartment of yours. My children will actually appreciate these designer gifts." James, always the sensitive one, wiped at his eyes while Emily's small fists clenched at her sides. The pain in their faces was unbearable. Amanda, clearly feeling triumphant, smirked and waved a dismissive hand. "Pack up and go. This party is over. Sophia and Alexander will have more fun without you here." Emily turned to her grandmother, her innocent face filled with desperation. "Grandma, you said we could have our party here. You promised." Margaret finally spoke, her tone laced with false sympathy. "Perhaps it would be best if you celebrated at home, dear. Something more fitting for your situation." Something inside me snapped. After 4 years of enduring Amanda's jabs at my single-parent status, after losing my husband and struggling to raise my kids alone, after Margaret's thinly veiled disdain, I had reached my breaking point. I straightened my spine. "We're leaving, but those gifts stay here. They were meant for Emily and James." Amanda's smirk widened. "Oh? And what exactly are you going to do about it? This is Margaret's house, and she agrees with me, right, Margaret?" Margaret gave a small nod, refusing to meet my children's devastated eyes. Tears threatened to spill down Emily's cheeks as I helped my twins gather their coats, but just as we reached the door, a firm, elderly voice rang out. "And just what do you think you're doing to my great-grandchildren?" Silence fell over the room. Everyone turned to see Grandma Rose, Margaret's mother, standing in the doorway. At 92, she still carried an air of authority that could silence a room in an instant. Her sharp eyes scanned the scene, my heartbroken children, Amanda's smug expression, the stack of stolen presents. "I was just coming to wish the twins a happy birthday," she said, her voice heavy with meaning. "Would someone like to explain why they're being thrown out of their own party?" Amanda hesitated. "Aros, we were just sorting things out. The children." "Enough," Grandma Rose cut her off, her voice steel. "Margaret, Amanda, my study, now." She then turned to me, her gaze softening. "Olivia, dear, stay here with the children. This won't take long." As they disappeared into the study, I knelt beside my twins, whispering reassurances even as I questioned how we would recover from this humiliation. But what I didn't know was that Grandma Rose had already set a plan in motion, one that would turn Amanda's entitled world upside down. From behind the study door, muffled voices escalated into heated tones. Moments later, Amanda stormed out, her face flushed with anger. Margaret followed, looking shaken, and then Grandma Rose emerged, her expression one of cool satisfaction. "Emily, James," she called, motioning them over. They hesitated before stepping forward. "Your party is not over," she announced. "In fact, we're moving it to my estate by the lake. Everyone is welcome, except, of course, those who fail to understand the meaning of family." Amanda's face twisted in shock. "You can't be serious." Grandma Rose didn't so much as blink. "I am. Cars are already on their way to take the guests over. Margaret, make sure Emily and James's gifts go with them." A stunned hush followed. The power shift was undeniable. Even Sophia and Alexander looked unsure as their mother stood frozen in place, suddenly stripped of her control. Amanda sputtered, "But what about my children? They deserve They deserve a mother who teaches them kindness. Grandma Rose interrupted smoothly. Until that happens, perhaps some time apart will do everyone good. And just like that, the party was whisked away to the lake house, a breathtaking estate my twins had only visited a handful of times, as Amanda had long monopolized family gatherings there. What followed was the celebration my children truly deserved. A lavish cake, expertly decorated, replaced the cheap store-bought one Amanda had initially provided. Games filled the sprawling garden, and laughter echoed across the grounds. As the sun began to set, James tugged on my sleeve. "Mom, why does Aunt Amanda hate us?" I sighed, brushing a hand over his hair. "She doesn't hate you, sweetheart. Some people just get lost chasing the wrong things." Emily, ever the observant one, frowned. "Like money?" Grandma Rose appeared beside us, nodding. "Exactly, my dear. And sometimes, those who put money above all else end up losing something far more precious." Then, she turned toward the gathering crowd. "Before we cut the cake, I have an announcement to make." Guests leaned in, intrigued. "Today, I witnessed something heartbreaking," Grandma Rose began, "a cruel attempt to diminish two wonderful children on their special day. But I also saw something inspiring. Little did we know, that moment would change everything." Emily and James had displayed more grace and strength than most adults could muster, and Grandma Rose had taken notice. She surveyed the gathered guests, her wise eyes landing on each person before making her announcement. "That's why I've made a decision," she said, her voice unwavering. "This lake house, along with the majority of my estate, will belong to Emily and James when they turn 21. Gasps filled the air. A mother in the crowd accidentally dropped her punch glass, the soft clink punctuating the stunned silence. "These children understand what truly matters," Grandma Rose continued. "Not brand names, not social status, but kindness, dignity, and family." Emotion swelled in my chest. Emily and James looked up at me, confusion flickering across their young faces. They were too little to grasp the weight of this moment. As my phone buzzed with frantic messages from Amanda and Margaret demanding answers, I silenced it. They had already done enough damage. "And there's more," Grandma Rose added, starting immediately. "Olivia will manage this estate on behalf of her children, which means," she turned to my twins with a smile, "you are welcome here anytime." That was when Amanda reappeared. Ignoring the earlier dismissal, she stormed across the lawn, rage twisting her features. "You can't do this," she screeched. "What about my children? What about their inheritance?" Grandma Rose met her fury with unshakable calm. "They will receive exactly what they deserve, a valuable lesson, courtesy of their mother's behavior." The other guests shifted uncomfortably as Amanda's composure shattered. "This isn't fair. We're family too," she wailed. "Family?" Grandma Rose's voice rang through the crowd. "Family doesn't steal from children. Family doesn't mock those who have less. Family doesn't tear each other down just to feel superior." She turned to Emily and James, who stood close, watching the scene unfold. "You two have shown more grace today than Amanda has in her entire life," Grandma Rose told them, "and that is worth more than all the designer clothes in the world." Amanda stood frozen, her expensive mascara smudging as the reality of her downfall sank in, not just the lost inheritance, but the respect of everyone watching. Even her own children looked at her with something dangerously close to embarrassment. Without another word, she turned and stormed off, her designer heels sinking into the manicured lawn. As she disappeared from sight, I heard Emily whisper to James, "This is better than any present, isn't it?" James nodded, a small smile breaking through. "Way better than what Aunt Amanda tried to steal." That night, under Grandma Rose's care, the party carried on with laughter, joy, and love, the things that truly mattered, but I had no idea that this was only the beginning. Amanda's greed wasn't going to fade so easily, and the storm she was about to unleash would shake our family to its core. The aftermath, the days following the party were nothing short of chaos. Amanda, unwilling to accept her loss, launched a smear campaign against me. She spread rumors that I had manipulated Grandma Rose, insisting that I'd somehow tricked her into changing the inheritance. What she didn't know was that Grandma Rose had prepared for this moment. 3 days later, every family member received an email from her lawyer. Attached was a video compilation, security footage from Grandma Rose's home, capturing Amanda's behavior over the years. Clips showed her mocking Emily and James when she thought no one was looking, whispering to her children that their cousins weren't worth playing with, casually removing my kids from family photos. Then came the most damning footage of all, just hours before the party. Amanda and Margaret, alone in the kitchen, Plotting. Once we get those presents, we'll have proof they rely on handouts. Amanda's voice rang clear. Then we can finally convince Rose they don't deserve a dime. Margaret's response was just as cold. It's for the best. That branch of the family is a disgrace. When the video hit the family group chat, the silence was deafening. Then, one by one, the messages started flooding in. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all expressing their disgust at what they had just seen. But Amanda wasn't finished. One evening, she showed up outside my apartment, her luxury car blocking my driveway. "You think you've won?" she spat as I guided my kids inside. "I'm hiring a lawyer. We'll prove Rose isn't in her right mind." I turned to face her, keeping my voice steady. "The only thing you're proving is how desperate you are." Her face twisted with rage. "At least I'm not living off my dead husband's life insurance. That's enough." A new voice cut through the tension. We both turned. Grandma Rose. Even at 92, she commanded attention, stepping out of her car with the ease of someone much younger. "Amanda, dear," she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness, "I had an interesting chat with your husband today." Amanda paled. "Oh yes," Grandma Rose continued, "it turns out you've been funding your designer wardrobe with his business account." She tilted her head. "He wasn't too pleased when I pointed out the potential legal implications." Amanda's mouth opened, then closed. Grandma Rose sighed, feigning disappointment. "He's freezing your access to the accounts as we speak." Amanda let out a strangled sound, her perfectly curated world crumbling around her. "You have two choices," Grandma Rose said smoothly. "Leave my grandchildren alone, or I'll make sure every secret you've been hiding comes to light." Amanda fled, tires screeching as she sped away. That was the last time she showed up at my doorstep. The fallout from Amanda's actions rippled through the family. Margaret, no longer able to sweep things under the rug, was removed from the family trust board. Amanda's husband, upon realizing the extent of her deceit, filed for divorce. And my children, my beautiful, resilient twins, began to flourish without the weight of Amanda's cruelty. Emily and James insisted on having their next playdate at the lake house, running through the gardens without a care in the world. As I watched them play, their laughter echoing through the air, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. "They're going to be just fine," Grandma Rose murmured beside me, her gaze warm. "They've learned what really matters." I turned to her, emotion thick in my throat. "Thank you, not just for the inheritance, but for standing up for them." She patted my hand. "My dear, they earned it, not with money or privilege, but with the strength of their character." That Christmas, the family gathered at the lake house for the first time. Amanda and Margaret were nowhere to be seen, having opted for an expensive resort far away. But the rest of us? We filled that house with laughter, love, and memories that no amount of wealth could buy. As Emily and James tore into their gifts, their faces bright with joy, I realized something. Grandma Rose hadn't just given them an inheritance. She had given them the greatest gift of all, the knowledge that their worth had never been measured by money. And that was something no one, not even Amanda, could ever take away. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay tuned.